Good afternoon. Buenas tardes, LEC community. I'm Edgar Palacios. I'm the founder of the Latinx Education Collaborative. Our mission is to increase the representation of Latinx education professionals in K-12. And I'm excited that you are joining us for another edition of Ask an Educator. Today we have the phenomenal Angelica Redmond from Brookside Charter School. And so we're going to have a great conversation with her today. Just want to share with everybody the reason that we do Ask an Educator is so we can continue to highlight the phenomenal Latino folks, Latinx folks doing this work in classrooms and school buildings and districts across our city, across our community. But it's so important because for me, I've often heard that Latinos are hard to find in education. It's kind of true, but we also have some really cool ones in the building, as well. And so I want to make sure that we're highlighting their work. Having said that, Angelica, bienvenida, welcome. How are you doing
today? Hola, hola. So yes, my name is Angelica Redmond, and I work at Brookside Charter School in ELL coordinator, and I've been there for 2 years, and I love it.
So for those of us that don't know you, Angelica, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so I am a mother of 4, and I am a wife. Um, I also, do cosmetology. I'm a soccer mom. Um, and most importantly, too, like I work with kids, which, that's one thing that I love. I love kids.
So you got 4 kids,
Yes.
soccer mom,
Mhm.
and you're also leading an initiative at Brookside, right? So you are a trailblazer at Brookside, doing the ELL work. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Tell me, like, how did you get involved? How did you get into the school building?
So yes. So once again, I'm been a parent, and actually, we've been at Brookside for quite some years. As a parent, and I actually started there prior to me, working there. I was doing an after school program. They provided a Spanish uh, program, and so I started working there after school for about 6 months, and that's one of the things that I really enjoyed every day, and I'm sorry, it was every Tuesday and Thursday. So I really enjoyed there being with the kids and helping them learn, a different language at the time. And then it turned into, what I am now. And so to me, it's something that's very dear to me, very close to me, as I also too came, to United States, and I was a part of the ESL program myself. So firsthand, I know what it's like. I've been there, and I just hope to inspire kids and for a brighter future.
No, I appreciate that, and thank you for sharing a little bit about yourself in that way. We talk a lot about representation mattering, like it matters, right? Being able to students to see themselves reflected in the teachers and the folks that serve them is crucial and critical to their long-term educational outcomes. So I'm loving what you're doing. I'm loving that you're there. I love that you have the experience as well, and so you bring in maybe a different perspective than others would have in that building. I'm curious as a parent, right? There's a lot of conversations at the community at large about parent engagement, how to bring in Latino parents into schools, how to keep them engaged. Tell me what your thoughts are from a parent perspective around if we're engaged or not as a community, and what may be preventing us from being engaged, but also like how are we engaged?
Okay, I think it's very important to be engaged. My husband and I have always been, engaged in our kids' education school. So I have been that mom where you go on field trips and stuff like that. And I think also too is very important because it makes the kids feel like, cool, my parents are here, they're supporting me, um, and also too, like how, like for us to get involved, like once again, I know life in right now is, it's a little different, circumstances are different, but I think we just have to realize that, the more that we put in our kids, um, it could only be better for their future, you know, and that's all. That's with us being involved, in their school, outside of school, everything. Once you have that bond, it's very important. Have that bond with your kids to, because like they say, everything starts at home. So, you have to start training your kid you know, from young on up, and also just support them.
Absolutely right. I think that's part of the work, and it's good to have passion. It's good to have that presence. You're absolutely right. Although I will say that my parents, I didn't necessarily think that they were cool. So they may have embarrassed me a little bit by being in the school. But sometimes I do wish that they were there a little bit more and a little bit more present, because I was super involved, and I just, man, you know what? This is a therapy session now, so I'm going to go ahead and skip it. Um, tell me about some of the, first and foremost. Actually, I'm going to stop because I think we have some community members out here. So I want to thank everybody who's joined us. Feel free to engage with us and in the comments. I want to say shout out to Rico. What's up? All the way from Indianapolis. So
Oh,
you got,
no.
yeah, now you're a national star, Angelica. It's a huge sense of belonging to, your parents have opportunities to get involved at school. So true. Um, tell me about like the parents that you serve at Brookside. Tell me a little bit about the community you serve.
Okay, so also too, we have it's predominantly, African American, and also I'm very familiar. My husband is African American. My kid, or yeah, our kids are, half black, half Mexican. So I definitely can relate, you know, with them as well.
What attracted you to Brookside?
Um, what attracted me to Brookside? So I would say, or actually, I have a great example. Just this Monday, so I had our second son. Both our three out of four of our kids have attended Brookside. One is still too little. He will be coming August. But our second child, he actually came from a different school, which was really great, arts school. But he was, when he started, he was having a trouble with reading. And so, I mean, we would study with him at home, read at home, and everything, And actually, on Monday, he had got retested to see what letter he was on, and actually, he's now at a Z, which is that he's reading at a seventh and eighth grade level, and he's only in fifth grade. So, in his words, he said, "Mommy," he said, "I couldn't, read to save my life." And just hearing that, it made me think about how great Brookside is. Of the dedication, the time that the type of staff that we have, that we really care about our kids, you know, and we make sure we give it our all so we can have, like the outcome, like even my son's outcome, you know, which is only directing for a brighter and better future.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that story. And one thing I love about the story too is that you have the opportunity to work in the school that your kids are there too, right? And so you get to see this firsthand and see their improvement, but
Oh yeah.
also hearing hearing your son talk about like that shift in mentality and that shift in like what's possible. That's what it's about. As you build your role, as you start building a program for ELL, um, what are some of your goals long term?
Okay, so some of my goals, definitely for kids to feel like they are heard, like they have a voice. And to me, I believe that if they feel like they have a voice, they will feel like they can accomplish anything in life. Because sometimes it take that one person, or especially a team, to be like, man, they really made a difference in in me, and want to make them better themselves. Because if we realistically talking, sometimes they might not have that at home, or might not have seen it, and so just to be, to have that positive influence is very, very critical, I think, especially in a kid's life, and just in general in a person's life.
I love what you're saying. Elevating student voice, giving them the space to be heard, to be seen, to be affirmed. That's incredibly powerful stuff, and I'm glad that you're working towards that. I'm curious. So COVID-19 happens. You're in your second year. You're in the middle of your second year.
Yes.
How have you navigated that to still do what you're trying to do, but maybe in a virtual space or maybe in a very different way?
Yes. So it has been challenging. It's been a challenging time. But also, the great thing is that our school does have in school classes. It's very small. And I do have some, or we do have some ELL students there. And like I said, it's also too about going the extra mile. Um, for instance, even because to me, there's a difference between the challenge of a language, trying to learn another language or not knowing a different language, and then even the challenge of technology. Especially when they both come together, it can be very difficult. And even with that, we have students. We have a student that's there, and you've seen the improvement, and I think it's very also like just staying connected with them. We do our Zoom meetings and stuff with the kids, and like I said, just to stay engaged, and to let them know that it's okay, and once again hear them out, because everything that's going on.
I'm curious. You mentioned the intersection of language and technology. What is one of your biggest frustrations with that? And then what's also one of your biggest successes with that?
Okay, one of my biggest frustrations is I've been there, I lived it, I know, I've experienced it. Um, so I would say it's like I know the challenge, so in a way it makes it somewhat easier because I know how to, in other words, tackle it. Um, so I think that's one of my biggest challenges, just making sure that oh, making sure that we reach out. One of the greatest things too is just seeing the outcome and seeing the positivity out of it. Yes, I'm sorry.
Oh, you're fine. I think that that's actually a good reminder. Something that we tend to focus on the negative and we tend to focus on the challenges, but also it's incredibly important to uplift what is going on that's positive. And you're saying that positivity in the classroom, positivity, and we're going to be able to get this done. We're going to be able to support our kids. We're going to be able to support our parents. Like that is also to be celebrated along the way. I'm curious too if it's been easier with some parents because of the technology.
It actually, I would say that once again, it goes to going the extra mile. I had a student who actually, um, and I could say who was having problems, of course, with the language and technology, and sometimes you just got to go out there and do the work. I know it's a pandemic, we have to be safe, but I went to the house and we're gonna get this right, and we're gonna be logged in, and this is how you do it, and all of that. So definitely going the extra mile, but then also it says a lot about the parents too. Like for instance, that particular student, the mom, with it being challenges, language challenges and technology, like she was just very like very focused, and not very focused, but very present in wanting to help, her her child, to be successful. And even with that, sometimes, like, yes, we want to help, we want to go the extra mile, but it also takes that parent to okay it, because they could be like, well, no, this is too much, or this shouldn't be, it's a pandemic. So I
Yeah.
think it definitely takes both sides.
What I'm hearing you say is that you have to build trust with parents. You have to go the extra mile to build those relationships and to make sure that they're comfortable with what's going on. What you uh, in terms of parents, what how do you think, if you were able to speak to all the superintendents in the city and you were to give them like one recommendation on how to best engage their parents, what would it be?
um oh so I would have to say is just try to it's the little things. It's the little things, I think, sometimes, um just trying to communicate and to try to build that relationship, even just by, like, for instance, we're talking about ELLs, right? So just how can we connect with them, going that extra mile of like a little piece of paper, translating it in their language, something as small as that, can make a huge difference, because it also, like for instance, I could use our school as an example. Now we have like texts in or text, in Spanish, or all of that, are everything's translated. So also too, like the parents, it makes them feel like a little bit more comfortable, because they feel like also, and they see that the school is going that extra mile to also cater to them, you know. And I think that that makes a big difference too, because like even growing up, and I'm not sure, I haven't asked my parents, but also too, just I know it was very challenging, you know, and even we came here like in the back in '94, and now, yeah, I'm sorry. I just, but yeah, I think just, yes, I think just trying to just, you know, bridge the gap somehow, but with the language.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think that it's in the details sometimes, and that's also can be a lot of extra work, right? I think for some educators and for some folks, there's a lot of stuff to do within the prescribed amount of time. But you're absolutely right that it's those small details, it's those that extra mile, that reaching out, that makes a huge difference for the parents. Um, no, that's I mean, like that's it's easy. It's like it's an easy concept, but it's also difficult to execute. Right? It takes a
Hmm.
lot of time. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions about the group that you're forming at Brookside, but before I get there, I'm interested. So you mentioned coming to um, the United States in '94. Is that correct?
Yes.
Did you come directly to Kansas City, or did you live in other places?
Yes, came directly to Kansas City. I am originally from Ciudad Juarez, and so yay. And
I
so
love Ciudad Juarez. Laura, partner, is from El Paso, so every time we were out in El Paso, we go across, and well, we used to anyways. Uh,
Yeah.
so Ciudad Juarez, um, w- tell me about arriving in Kansas City. Like, what is that like?
So I was probably about a month, well, actually a month away from turning 8 years old. And I actually spoke about this before. I remember the conversation that I had with my mom before we came. And so she was like, "Oh, we're gonna move to, the States." And my dad had already been here, and so we had family here. And so I remember I was like, "Man, it just seems so cool. Like I'm gonna be around family, blah blah blah." And when I got here, it was fine at first, and then it was like it hit me like a ton of bricks as far as because like the language, in Juarez we used to be out playing around with our friends, and stuff. And here it was like everybody was indoors, and it could have just been just our family. I don't know, like it was just everything was so different. It was like such a like culture shock for me, you know. But yes, I love Kansas City now, but
I
so
mean,
yeah.
how long did it take you to feel at home?
Oh, ooh, maybe, ooh, I don't know. Maybe around my teens, maybe in my teens, I would say, when you start building more friends and stuff like that, uh, yeah, I would say probably in my teens.
And I appreciate you sharing that because it's interesting. I think we expect students, who arrived, to immediately either assimilate or feel like, what's going on with them. Like, why are they picking up the language as quickly as they could? Why aren't they as engaged as they could possibly be? And there's a lot of other personal things that come along with that, right? Do you even feel at home? Do you feel safe? Um, do you feel like you're valued, or do you feel like people listen to you, or do you feel like you belong in the schools that you're going to as well? And so that's an epic challenge, right? From
Hmm.
to come to this country, go immediately into our educational system, and then be expected to do all these things right away.
Right.
Um, is that can be a traumatic experience as well.
It can be, and actually, I remember like even when I got here, like you kind of gravitate to people who kids who look like you, who speak like you. And actually, back when I got here, I entered the I believe second grade, and I have a friend who I met then, and we're still friends now. And that's pretty amazing. And also too, she has a pretty similar story. They arrived to the States. It was her first school, and years later, I mean, we're still friends. So I think like even that connection. And I hear you also speak a lot about like, you know, about like as far as like when you see someone, like look like you, or like I'm sorry, I'm like missing my thing, but
No, you're good. No, no.
you have someone to that kind of looks like you, speaks like that, makes you wanna
Connect.
do more and connect. Yeah, the connection. So yeah.
I just want to share with you, we have our 2020 Educator of the Year, Yvonne, say, I assume it's a what, or like a yep, or some showing you some appreciation, some love.
Oh,
Um,
thank you.
Christy, her dad's from Ciudad Juarez as well, so we got some Juarez. ¿Cómo se dice like people from Juarez?
Um, Juarense,
Ju-
Juarense,
Juarenses?
Juarense.
Juarenses? Dang it. We don't have this issue in Nicaragua. And then Kelly, Joe, Kelly, how's it going? These are great questions. It's nice to get some perspective from somebody who's been through it, like you all have. I'm an ESL teacher in Olathe, and I love my kids so much, but I always feel like I wish I could read inside their minds. and know that they're going through and what it's like to be a newcomer. Thanks for sharing. Yeah, it's you know, I was born in Miami, but my parents came to this country in 1981, and you're talking about 94. I remember 95 was when my mom, I was working on her PhD, and it's something that was very for her to come to Miami from Nicaragua. First and foremost, she had to start her whole education process all over again, right? So she had to go back to college, even though she had a college degree. She had to do all these other things, and so I'm going back to 94 for me, and just it was a couple of years before I moved to Spokane, Washington too. And I remember going to Spokane, and that culture shock was real. In Miami, you speak Spanish everywhere. Like your Latino is cool. Like you're eating the food everywhere. In Spokane, Washington, it's not so much. And so I shared in that experience, even though we approach it very different ways, and we had definitely different challenges. But I think even in that, there's some solidarity there in the experiences of what it's like to be a newcomer in any place, and to try to also retain some sort of your identity along the way, right? So, Christy, thank you so much, Juarenses. Estoy tratando de practicar mi español este año también, pero se me olvidan palabras y algunas veces no sé lo que digo.
That's okay. That's okay.
So and now I'm even more curious. So, you work directly with students now who share similar experiences or sharing, or what is your advice to them? What kind of, as they're asking you questions, what do you tell them? What are you telling them?
I would say that life is a learning experience. Let's start off by that. For instance, we do have Latin kids, but they come from different places, and we know that you have different dialects and stuff like that. So definitely there's that. We can't communicate everything, but also too sometimes it's like, Miss Redmond, no, that ain't how you say this. I'm like, yes, baby, this is how, but it's a different dialect, But yeah.
First of all, that's like the most real answer I've ever gotten to that question. Like life is a learning experience. And so I appreciate that you're leading from truth early on. And you're right, there's different dialects, there's different cultural customs, right? When non-Latinos think about Latinos, I think we tend to stereotype what that means, right? We tend to, or people, not we, but people tend to stereotype what it means, and not understanding the true diversity of what it is to belong to the Latino community.
I remember.
Good. Christy's just saying, échale ganas. I think there's an accent on that E, so it starts off with the échale, or échale ganas. I go organizar los cafecitos. I know. That email's coming to you, Christy. Absolutely. Kelly Jo, sending you some heart, some love. What inspires you about your students?
Oh, just seeing their little faces. And there's this one particular student. The student is very full of life, and I love it. Like, I love your spirits, everything, and even this week, it's like the little things. Like I said, she was like, Miss Redmond. They call me Miss Redmond, so they're like, Miss Redmond, I just love you so much, and thank you for teaching us. And this is all in Spanish. And so, and I love it, and she was like, just thank you for teaching me. Thank you for, she was like, cause you're here and this and that, and she left, came back, and she was like screaming in the hall. And she was like, Miss Redmond, I forgot something. And I was like, okay. And she brought me a little heart of chocolates and some lollipops. And I was just like, it's just the little things like making, and I know like making a little difference in a kid's life. Like I wish that even I would have had that growing up. You know what I mean? And that's what makes me be like, this is good. This is a good thing right here. You know what I mean? It makes me
I
proud. It
love
makes me happy.
I
It
love
makes
that
me
you
want to
said
keep
that.
going.
I think often, and particularly from Latino educators, Latinx educators, there's a common thread in that, right? The reason that they become teachers or get involved in school or there is because they often didn't see themselves reflected in those
Yes.
roles, right? And so there's this different drive that happens. They want their students to have a very different experience long term, and I think that is so much embedded in the love for our community. It's so much
Mhm.
embedded in what we aspire for our community as well. And so it's a beautiful drive. It's something that I celebrate about our community. Not that we're different than any other community in that way, but I definitely know that for our community of educators specifically, like sometimes it's absolutely rooted in this. Like I didn't have this
Right, right,
growing
right.
up, and so I'm committed to being that for others as I continue. You know,
Yeah.
you mentioned thinking about going back to school and doing that kind of work. What are How are you thinking about what your future looks like in the world of education?
Well, like I said, this is something that's very passionate and also for me and very something almost that it comes natural to me, just because like the experience that even like I had growing up, and about school, it made me think like, maybe it's time, also to, and I listen to a lot of your guys' Facebook, talks and everything. And it's so true sometimes, like even growing up, being Latin, you're told like, yes, you have to be better, education and everything. But at the same time, it's not a big priority, because what's a big priority too is to help your family. And I guess I can only speak for my family and or for my experiences, um, so it's just like, helping out family and this and that. And that's why I think one of the things that I'm very involved in my kids' school, because I know how important education is, and also too when the kids see you involved, it gives them a more less way to be like, no, it's okay. I'm just not gonna do blah blah blah. Like it makes them because you got to stay on them. You got to stay on them to keep going. But yes, I mean, I think that going back to school, um, it can only be more, enhance everything more. You know what I mean? Uh,
Absolutely. I mean, it's interesting, right? We education is important. Period, right? And it's
mhm.
there's different types of education out there. There's different types of working through it, but I think it's in the learning in that process and in the joy of learning that we get better ourselves. I'm going to ask you a question around in terms of community.
Yes.
How can the community support you and folks like yourself in these roles and helping you achieve your own goals?
Okay. I think that first of all, like community is a lot. It means a lot too, because it's true that it takes a village, to get us going, so, and by that, like also to just how can they, help me it's more than just me. It's helping the students, it's helping our future. It's is that, I think like if we look at it like that, we're helping kids, we're helping lives, we're helping um, we're helping our future present or future, just future educators, future everything, So I think we should more I think maybe look at it like that. So yes, and it's for their greater good, you know.
You shared with me something that I absolutely love. You started a group called La Voz de los Osos,
Yeah.
so the voice of the bears.
Mhm.
Tell me about the group. Tell me about Los Osos.
Okay. So Los Osos Stars are is from that's our logo, our Brookside logo. And so once again, we wanted to create something that, caters to our Latino kids. And I was thinking like, how can we do that? And that's when they see or feel a little bit more about them, I feel like that makes them want to do more. Like, oh, that, when they are, they feel like, um, like relate to when they can relate to things. So our purpose is to make sure we acknowledge them, and to feel like they have a voice, and yes, feel like they have a voice, and they are a part of their culture is a part of Brookside Charter.
I love that you started the group. I appreciate your work and your effort there, and I'm so glad for your students. I'm happy for them that they have somebody like you as part of their life and as part of their journey at Brookside. That is so important and so critical. And I also can't wait, to hear the stories about 5, 10 years from now, to see what kind of impact you made in their lives and to see what kind of relationships you're forming that are lifelong as well, right? I think about your friend who you met in second grade. Um, I still have I still have two teachers that I connect with from high school and middle school. People who made me feel welcome and safe in these new environments. And so it's possible and it's there. And so I'm excited for you and excited for what that looks like
Like
as
also,
we,
let me add a little.
yeah.
This is just, and I can't wait for that either. But also too, like you could see it from now. Like you start to see it, like for instance, el 12 de diciembre, right, which is el Día de la Guadalupe. And so we actually, was talking to the kids and stuff about that, and I was having a Zoom meeting, and I was speaking to one of my students, and she was like, "You know about it?" And I was like, "Yes." I was like, "La Virgen de Guadalupe," and she was so excited because her birthday was within that week, and she was like, "Let me show you something." She was like, "My parents, they got me a gift, una Virgen de Guadalupe, like a sculpture." And she was just so amazed and happy, and she was like, "Look, look, look." So she was super excited. And I think, like, once again, the little things, you know just seeing her and just seeing that, how much, like, in a way, joy it brought her. Like, oh, she knows, they know, we could talk about it, we could relate to it. And yes, that's also one of my students that she's like, "I'm happy, like, I'm glad I got to see you, every time when I meet." So yeah.
That's a beautiful story. December 12th is a special day for me only because one, it's one of my friends' birthday, Vania Soto, and I'm very familiar with La Virgen de Guadalupe. Two, it's the day after my birthday, December 11th, and so I'm a big fan of Sagittarians. We take over the world. We run the world sometimes, but that's a beautiful story, and there's nothing like feeling that moment of like acceptance too, right?
Hmm.
Um, oh, like that connection that's deeper than anything else, right? Like, oh, you know what I'm talking about.
Right, right, right.
You're now in a special club, and that's a powerful and beautiful moment when it happens for students. I see Christy's name on here. I'm curious. Are you involved in any parent organizations across the city? Are you? What's that look like for you?
Is that Christy Moreno?
It is Christy Moreno.
Oh, okay, okay. I know her name. So she also too. Let me mention. So we started at Brookside last year, doing celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month, and we try to have videos. And Mr. Edgar was one of our that did a video. Thank you. It was great. And so also did. That's how we connected. She did a video for, for the school as well, and she also gave me some references to, for a couple of more people to do a video. And as far as that, no, not right now, but yes, I am. We are open to that because I think if ideally, I would love it. Like, yes, we're starting at Brookside, but if we could, make this thing bigger, and include it into other schools, man, like just the positivity, I think is just gonna be great. You know what I mean? Like, and that change in kids' lives, that's I can't wait. Can't wait for that.
Christy said that she loved your project for Hispanic Heritage Month. So, and Christy knows a lot of people in the charter school network. So I think that dream of putting in different schools might be a possibility. Yes, we need to show our kid what it means to be an empowered Latinx impact in the world. Um, Absolutely. There's it's such a it's our community is beautiful, right? Our community is so diverse and incredibly um, there's so much good to who we are as Latinos in this space. And so the fact that our students get to see that reflected and that they get to have those moments and those experiences where they feel connected to the world is important. Um, so my final question for you:
Hmm.
how can an organization like ours, how can our community continue to support you?
Okay. I think supporting us also too, maybe also by, I know times are a little different right now, but also for instance, we want to put together even just like kind of like a showcase, our Hispanic, like different, you know, groups or different, people from Latin background, and supporting us just by also too like maybe being there, being a mentor, to us, to the staff, also too for the kids, just to see someone is very powerful what you're doing first of all, you know and to even just see someone like you and other people, it's like, man, like if he could do it, I could do it. He's a Latino, I'm a Latino. And then also too, like, there's not a lot of men around, Latino men, even too like women, just having someone that they could relate to, that looks like them, that could only make this thing, really, really big.
I appreciate that, and I'm committed to supporting you in any way that I can, um, and know that we will work together on some ideas and making sure that
Or
you and
coming
your
to
student.
speak to the kids,
I mean, I love coming to the classroom. I love coming to speak to students. I'm a big fan of just being in classrooms and riling them up. We have a question from Kelly Joe. Angelica, we are approaching KELPA testing soon. Can you give me advice on how to help my students reflect on previous year scores and how to set goals? I want them to be able to see progress and growth and make it more meaningful to them.
Okay. So I think one of the things too, with testing, actually, we also do testing, and or even just like our everyday like assessments they do, And one thing about that, like I was speaking about earlier, is trying to bridge that gap, And what I've done even with some of our students also, translate. You know, you don't have to give them no answers, nothing like that. Just translate. And, you know, I had a student who they had tested, you know, and their scores were a little lower, you know, and so once we retested, all I did was just translate. No answers, no nothing. And I believe it was, don't quote me, and I'm not sure if I'm supposed to say this, but it came up to a 60, either 65 or 75. And this is just me just translating. That's it, nothing else, you know. And that was, I believe, that was for reading, you know. And it's just, yeah, just little small things like that, just trying to bridge that gap.
I appreciate you sharing that tool and feedback on how you did that. Chrissy says, Angelica, thank you all you do for our ELL kids and their families. Thank you for all you do for. I needed to read that because I sometimes don't know how to read well myself. Um,
Okay.
but this has been so enjoyable. Thank you so much for agreeing to be with us today. You have a community of support out there, and we are so appreciative of you and what you're doing, leading the way at Brookside. Know that you are part of our community, and we are here to support you in any way, shape, form that we can. So, thank you so much
Thank
for being
you.
here today. And to the rest of our community, thank you for joining us today. We do Ask an Educator. We try to do Ask an Educator on a weekly basis at 4 p.m. on Wednesdays. I should say 4 p.m. Central, because we do have some folks who are watching us from different time zones. So thank you for continuing to join. If I can't believe I'm about to say this, so we actually broadcast this on Facebook and YouTube. So if you're watching on any of those platforms, if you haven't liked our page, go ahead and like. If you haven't subscribed to YouTube, go ahead and subscribe. That's so awkward, but I'm trying to be like the younger kids these days, asking for all that stuff. So Angelica, you got
And
something?
there's some very inspirational videos like you have no idea. Like
Okay.
life changing, I promise.
We got to put that in a commercial somewhere. We got life changing content here at the
Life
LEC.
changing.
I love it. You know what? We're gonna promote that all over the place. But thank you so much again. Thank you to everyone for joining us. I hope everyone has a phenomenal rest of their day.
Yes.
Adios.
Adios.